Preliminary win. A federal judge has ruled the entertainer's attorneys can have access to Kendrick Lamar's contract and other sensitive information. The ruling's part of Drake's defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group. Though Lamar is not a defendant himself in the case, it centers around the distribution and promotion of the song Not Like Us, which features some scathing lyrics about Drake. I want to bring in ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer to unpack this latest part of their feud. So, Brian, why do Drake's lawyers want this information about Kendrick's contract and also about salaries and bonuses for senior executives?
So, Diane, for Drake, at the heart of this lawsuit is the argument that UMG, the parent company for both record labels that have Drake and Kendrick Lamar as artists, that they inflated the market, that they kind of worked behind the scenes to drive up the interest of Not Like Us to the detriment of Drake. And so what they're hoping for is that all the internal messages, any discussions, payments, bonuses, any kind of discussion as to whether or not lyrics should be censored at the Super Bowl might lend itself to their arguments. And so they're hoping to get that evidence as well as sit people down for depositions to answer questions.
Now, Drake is accusing UMG of spreading false and malicious narrative about him. Right now, as I said, he's not suing Kendrick Lamar directly, but could he end up being brought into this lawsuit?
So it depends on what your definition of be brought into this lawsuit is. Could Kendrick be brought into the lawsuit as a witness, someone who testifies about a conversation that occurred based on what they found in the evidence or the discovery process that they're going through now? Yes. But do I think we're going to see Kendrick Lamar as a named defendant in this case? I think that ship has already sailed. I think Drake is focused on UMG, and what he says is a reckless use of these lyrics and the promotion of this song to the detriment of one of their own, namely Drake, as being with one of the record labels that UMG owns.
Given Drake is also with UMG, how are his lawyers explaining why they would try to sabotage him in this way? And where do you see this case going?
So part of the argument is that prior to Kendrick Lamar's breakout music that has, and these diss tracks back and forth between Kendrick and Drake was at the top of his game. He was leading the forefront when it came to streaming and the revenue that came in. And I think the argument that he has is that if they could lessen his brand when he went back to renegotiate a contract and he was looking at his streaming numbers and looking at his popularity, a damaged brand would have less in terms of negotiating a better contract than if they did not try to, as he's arguing, maliciously stain his reputation. And so that's what he's trying to argue. What happens next is the discovery process is going to continue. Information will be passed by both sides, meaning that Drake will also potentially have to sit down and be questioned by UMG. And we know that on June 30th, the judge is having a hearing for UMG's motion to dismiss to argue whether or not this case should continue.